It's the dictionary. It's the dictionary. It's the dictionary. It's the dictionary. Dictionary. It's the dictionary. It's the dictionary.
Hello, word nerds, and welcome to the dictionary. My name is Spencer. It's not Alan, but I much respect Alan. No, my name is Spencer, and this is episode F75. Woohoo! We're almost at F100. We're 3/4 of the way there. We're like 30% through all of F's. If my math is, I don't know. I don't really know the numbers. It's like 250, I think, for F. Okay, so the first word in this episode is fict. Yes, it's not a word that you say, F-I-C-T. Abbreviation for fiction or fictitious. That's it for that one. My sound effect, we're going to have a lot of fiction words today. My sound effect is going to be... The next word is fictile or fictile. Those are the two ways. F-I-C-T-I-L-E. Fictile, fictile. Adjective from 1626. Number one is archaic, and the synonym is the 2A definition for the word plastic. What were they what's an old definition of plastic? Archaic? I don't really, like, you hear plastic and you automatically have all these ideas. I'm surrounded by plastic, I'm sure, here. Like these clamps, I think that's a plastic. But plastic, there's plasticity, so it's like something that's malleable and formable. And so fictile is probably something like that. That's my guess. We'll talk about it in the P's. Number two, of or relating to pottery and, ceramics, clay. That stuff is malleable, formable. So that's probably what this is essentially meaning, or in this context for this definition, specifically about pottery. Number three, here it is, the 2A definition for the word malleable. It's right there. Let's see, my brain is malleable. Your brain is malleable, especially if you're under 25. It's still forming. You're still making those neural pathways. You can still do it after 25. I'm working on it, but it's a lot harder. So you gotta train more. You gotta be persistent. You gotta be motivated. If you want to learn a new skill, it's gonna take a lot more time and effort to do it when you're over 25 than when you're under 25. And I'm almost double 25, so it's extra hard for me. But yeah, it's time to learn a new skill. What's a new thing that I can learn? I should do that. I should train myself to do something. All I know how to do is read a book in front of a camera and a microphone. So this word is from the Latin fictitious, which means molded of clay. Something that is molded of clay. You take the clay and you mold it into something, and then it's a fictitious. From fingere, doesn't say what that means. I think I've seen that word before, but I don't know what it means. The next word is fiction, noun, from the 14th century. Number 1A, something invented by the imagination or feigned. Feigned, F-E-I-G-N-E-D. I think, does that have to do with like something that's fake? But specifically, an invented story. An invented story. You literally came up with it. None of it is real. The people are fake. The story is fake. The places are fake. All of it. It's invented. I don't know if I've ever been very good at this. I don't know. Let's see. Something invented by the... Yep, you're just using your imagination to come up with some stuff. This is, of course, the opposite. The opposite of this is nonfiction. Nonfiction. Books, movies, those are real, based on real stuff. Now, fiction can be based on real stuff, of course, but we've changed the names, maybe. 1B is fictitious literature, as novels or short stories. So if you're just saying fiction, I consumed some fiction in this definition, you might be talking about specifically literature. Literature. 1C, a work of fiction, especially the synonym novel. But again, movies, TV shows. What are some other things that could be fiction? I mean, you could a dance. The Nutcracker Ballet is a fictional story, a work of fiction, but it's not any of those. It's not a movie. It's not a TV show. It's the ballet. Number 2A, an assumption of a possibility as a fact, irrespective of the question of its truth. The example is a legal fiction. So this is a word that is used in the legal world in a very specific way. What way is that? Let's read it again. Maybe we'll understand it better if we know the context of the legal world. An assumption of a possibility as a fact, irrespective of the question of its truth. Oh, this hurts my brain so much. I should have gone to legal school. Assumption of and of course it's written kind of in legalese, an assumption of a possibility as a fact. So we are assuming that this thing that happened possibly did happen, irrespective, so it doesn't matter of the question of its truth. We don't care about the actual truth. We're just assuming that it was true. I don't know. Legal scholars, help me out here. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, in a roundabout way, I got a new patron, so now I have 2 patrons. I'm so happy and pleased. And the reason I brought that up was because I was messaging with this new person. Oh, I want to say his name is Andrew. I'm assuming his gender, Andrew. That he is going to law school, and so if he happens to listen to this episode before he goes back and listens to everything, because of course I recommended that, then maybe he can chime in soon with this legal stuff about the word fiction. Okay, now we have 2B, a useful illusion or pretense. And yes, I think, again, maybe we're still in the legal world. Number 3, the action of feigning or of creating with the imagination. The action of feigning, I guess it's, again, making up something, or of creating with the imagination. I gotta put my phone on the focus do not disturb mode because there's too many buzzes happening. Fictional is an adjective. Fictionality is a noun, and fictionally is an adverb. So, what is the etymology of this? Where does this word come from? We're so used to this word, we don't even think about it, do we? Do you know? I don't think I have ever thought about it. It is from the Latin fictio, which means act of fashioning, or also just fiction. And here's that word fingere, which means to shape, fashion, or feign. And there is more at the word dough. Dough. Oh, I love dough. Bread dough, donut dough, all the doughs, croissant dough, flaky, doughy stuff. But yes, dough is malleable, like a clay. Pizza dough. Oh, yeah, okay. I gotta stop eating so much dough. Let's see. So yes, act of fashioning. It's just the idea of creating a thing. When you make a bowl in pottery class, is that bowl a work of fiction? Maybe. But it's also real, so it's nonfiction. Oh, I don't know. You use it however you want to use it. Okay, now we got... The next word is fictionalize, British variation of fictionalize, because it has an S, and the American way has a Z, which is... Our next word, fictionalize. This is a verb from 1918. It looks like it is only intransitive. No, sorry, transitive. It means to make into or treat in the manner of fiction. So wait, to make into fiction or treat in the manner of fiction, as in fictionalize a biography. A biography, by its definition, I think, is nonfiction. Somebody has written a book, a story about somebody else who's real, but then this is fictionalizing it to make into it fiction or treat in the manner of fiction. So maybe you want to make a movie based on someone's life, but you don't have the rights to their life or to the biography that it's based on, the book biography, and so you're like, well, I'm just going to fictionalize it. I'm going to change a number of things to make it similar but different, but we're still getting the idea across of this very specific story that we think is important to tell. Maybe that's an example? Sure, why not? Fictionalization. That is a noun. Fictionalization. The act of fictionalizing. Let's see. Next word is fictioneer. Fictioneer. Like an auctioneer, a fictioneer. Noun from 1923. One who writes fiction, especially in quantity and without high standards. Oh, so they're just churning out these stories. Maybe they're making those real small, skinny, sort of pulpy novels, and they're fiction, and they don't take a lot of effort, and they're kind of formulaic, and they're short, and so you're just fictioneering. You're the fictioneer, and you're fictionalizing stuff. Fictioneering, yep, that's the noun. Fictioneering, is that not also a verb? I guess it could be both, maybe. I have to go to the office and do some fictioneering today. I have to write 17 short novels, and each of them will make me $100. Fictioneer. Okay, now we have fictionist. Noun from 1829. It's quite a bit older than fictioneer. This is a writer of fiction, especially the synonym novelist. So this one is not so much about quantity. They probably have higher standards than the fictioneer. And, they take a lot longer to write a novel. The book is probably bigger. Maybe it's got a better vocabulary. I think I would be more of a fictioneer, except I don't think I could come up with so many stories. Somebody who could probably make up a number of stories is my past guest, Josh Pilch. He's very good at coming up with that stuff, along with his co-host, Jesse, on their podcast. Go check that one out. Big Town? Big Town. Now we have fictionize. So before we had fictionalize, and here is fictionize. Transitive verb from 1831. The synonym is fictionalize. And fictionization, that is a noun. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Fictionize is 1831. Fictionalize is 1918. 80 plus years later. And so I guess did fictionalize sort of take over? They're like, that one's a little bit easier to say, but it's not, is it? Fictionize, fictionalize. I don't know. I have equal feelings about them. Now we have the word fictitious. Fictitious. Adjective from circa 1633. One, of, relating to, or characteristic of fiction. The synonym is imaginary. Just something that is not real. There was that movie If, Imaginary Friends. There's that horror movie called Imaginary, which I never saw. I think it had a bear, a teddy bear in it. I feel like we didn't watch it because it didn't get the greatest reviews, but I am still very curious to watch that movie. Number 2, conventionally or hypothetically assumed or accepted, as in a fictitious concept. A fictitious concept? Conventionally assumed or accepted, hypothetically assumed, or I wonder if this is again in the legal world. Seems like it might be. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Judge. That concept is fictitious because it is conventionally or hypothetically assumed or accepted. We are automatically assuming it, but we shouldn't be, so that's why it's a fictitious concept. Okay. 2B is talking about a name. A name? The synonyms are false and assumed. I think this is kind of in the legal world because it's the 2B, but, other people are using it too. What's your fictitious name? I don't have a I guess maybe today my fictitious name is Alan. It is a false name, an assumed name. They say AKA, which stands for also known as. Did you ever go by another name? No? Then you don't have any fictitious names. I did not. I've kept my own name. Number 3, not genuinely felt. Not genuinely felt? Like emotionally? Or physically? Fictitiously is an adverb, and fictitiousness is a noun. The etymology says it's from the Latin fictitious, which means artificial or feigned. Yeah, it's very similar to the other etymology that we saw. Okay, now we have quite a lot of synonym information for this word. Fictitious, fabulous, legendary, mythical, and apocryphal mean having the nature of something imagined or invented. Oh yes, these are some good words right here. Fictitious implies fabrication and suggests artificiality or contrivance more than deliberate falsification or deception, as in fictitious characters. They're just fake, invented. But specifically, they are not deliberately falsified. They're not trying to deceive you. There's nothing about these characters or whatever that this fictitious thing is that's trying to be sneaky or weaselly wily. It's just a fake. It's a very middle of the road in terms of its emotion behind it. Fabulous stresses the marvelous or incredible character of something without necessarily implying impossibility or actual non-existence, as in a land of fabulous riches. So what is this again? Marvelous or incredible character of something. Yes, we're talking about it being great, big, marvelous, without necessarily implying impossibility or actual not. So this one is not necessarily about something that is being imagined or invented, but we're just sort of exaggerating the greatness, the awesomeness of it, possibly. A land of fabulous riches. In American Tale, the movie, the old 1980s movie, An American Tale, was all about they were going to this land of America because they thought it had fabulous riches, and the streets were paved with gold. God, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. Legendary suggests the elaboration of invented details and distortion of historical facts produced by popular tradition, as in the legendary exploits of Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. So it's like, so maybe this guy was real. I think I have heard that Davy Crockett was real. Paul Bunyan, I'm not so sure about. But over time, the telephone game happened with his exploits, and things became much more crazy than maybe they really were. You'll learn the real story eventually. Let's see. Is there anything else to say about that? Distortion of historical facts. Yeah. I hope that you talk about my legendary exploits when I am dead. What did Spencer do? He read the dictionary. Oh, that seems very legendary. No, he really did that. Mythical implies a purely fanciful explanation of facts or the creation of beings and events out of the imagination, as in mythical creatures. Oh, we love these creatures. Some people think these are real, but I don't think that they are. Even some, there's like AI images and videos that have been created these days that I see people sharing, and I'm like, do you think those are real? That bird, that cat thing, that's not real. We're getting trained. We're getting trained to unconsciously to not realize like what's real and stuff, and it's getting freaky. You got to use your brain, people. Think about it. Okay, mythical, fanciful explanation or facts of the creation. What are some mythical creatures? Let's quickly go through. We got unicorn. We got, I guess, like sort of Bigfoot, Yeti. Those are similar things. There's a lot of other names for those. The Mothman. The Cyclops. Cyclops, the invention of that has a great story. What are some other ones that I'm trying to quickly think of off the top of my head? I can't think of any. There's the chupacabra, but I think it was like some hairless thing that people saw, and they were like, oh my God, it's a thing called the chupacabra. What else? Why can't he think of any troll? Oh, trolls, ogres, elves, all those things. Those, I think, would be considered mythical creatures, although some people very much believe in fairies. But, who knows? Not so sure. Next, the last one is apocryphal, implies an unknown or dubious source of origin, or may imply that the thing itself is dubious or inaccurate, as in a book that repeats many apocryphal stories. Unknown, dubious, like, not so sure about that one. Apocryphal thing. It's very dubious. That doesn't seem right. That tall tale. Those long legs. Okay, now, just a few more words. Here we go. We have the word fictive. Adjective from 1612. Number 1, not genuine, and the synonym is feigned, spelled F-E-I-G-N-E-D, the word that we've seen a few times in this episode. Number 2, of, relating to, or capable of imaginative creation. Capable of imaginative creation. We are all fictive in that way. We all have the ability to make up stuff, create stuff. We're probably doing it and we're not even aware of it. Number 3, of, relating to, or having the characteristics of fiction. The synonym is fictional. That story is fictional. You could also say fictive. Fictively is an adverb. Fictiveness is a noun. This is a word. We're not using this. Are you using this word? It's from 1612. You're probably not using this word, but I think you should start. Okay, we are done with the fiction-related words. The fictional words, they're not fictional words. They're real words, but they were made up, but they're real. Okay. Now we have ficus, F-I-C-U-S. Noun from 1693. It's just the 1B definition for the word fig. Huh. Well, I do remember talking about, we haven't gotten to the word fig yet, but we did have a fig-related word, and it was a fic thing, F-I-C, and that was related to figs, because the word for fig, I think, was ficus in Latin, it's just the Latin word for fig. But isn't there a plant called the ficus? Ficus? Yeah, the ficus plant. So is that the same as a fig plant? Oh, I don't know. I don't know my plants well enough. The next word is fid, just F-I-D. It is a noun from 1615. I don't know if I've heard of this word. I think Scrabble players know this word because they got to know all the 2 and 3 letter words, but do they even know what it means? They must know what it means. They've probably trained, they've learned, but I don't think I know what it is. It is a tapered, usually wooden pin used in opening the strands of a rope. Wow, that is specific. A tapered, usually wooden pin used in opening the strands of a rope. Why do you need to open the strands of a rope? You gotta, because the rope is made from lots of tiny little fibers, and so you gotta break it open for some reason. You gotta release the strands. I don't know. It's a fid. But why is it called a fid? Nobody knows, at least according to this book. It says origin unknown. Oh, that's very sad. All right, one more. It's the suffix fid, goes at the end of the word. Fid. Can you think of any words that end in fid? No. This is no year, nothing like that. So it means divided into parts or parts. What? So there's a couple of parentheses. Let's read those to make it a little bit more clear. It is divided into so many parts or such parts. And if you take out the parentheses, it's what I said before, divided into parts or parts. So those parentheses are really important in this context, and maybe you shouldn't have put them in parentheses. You're dividing it into a number of parts or very specific types of parts. Huh? We have an example. Panatafid. Panatafid? I might have to look that word up. But let's quickly look at the etymology. This is from the Latin findere, which means to split. And there's more at the word bite. So, panatafid, I don't love looking ahead. But, by the time we get there, we're gonna have forgotten everything. A week ago I forgot what I was talking about. Let's see. Panatafid? Where here we go. Let's just get it's talking about like a leaf. Like a leaf can be a panatafid leaf because it's divided into a certain amount of parts. There's a lot of leaves that are, divided into 3 parts, 5 parts, 7 parts, I don't know. And so they're putting fid at the end of the panata part, which that means pinnate, resembling a feather, that sort of thing. And then it's taking that and dividing it into parts. So I don't know. We'll come across some other words that end in fid over the next 20 plus years in this dictionary project journey. All right, now I got to pick a word of the episode. Today we had fict, fictal, fiction, fictionalize, fictioneer, fictionist, fictionize, fictitious, fictive, ficus, fid, and fid. Well, I think it is very cool and fun that people are making up stuff. When did that start? Were they making up stuff, 10,000 years ago? There was that movie with Ricky Gervais. It was The Invention of Lying. And up until then, in modern day society, nobody had ever lied. Nobody had ever made up anything before. And I love the concept of this. And then he's like, you can just say something that's not true. I think we kind of take this idea for granted. And people take advantage of that for sure. And so, there's just a lot about being fictitious and making fiction, fictionalizing things. And it's like a way to tell a story, a way to get across something that needs to be talked about. It's, you don't have to use real things. You can you can get like metaphors into your stories, your movies, your TV shows, whatever it is. Or sometimes it's just like, what if the world was like this? A sci-fi thing, a future thing, a fantasy thing. It's fun to think of like, people came up with this stuff. they're very inventive and creative, and it's working on those juices and stuff like that. It's very cool. I don't do a lot of it, but I would like to do more of it. I come up with ideas, but I don't ever get to implement them in any way. Not yet. Maybe someday in my future I will be able to implement these stories and things. But I need help stretching them out, making them real. So I think I'm just going to pick fictitious as the word of the episode. I very much enjoyed those synonyms. Fictitious and fabulous, legendary and mythical. But we can't forget about apocryphal. All right, let's quickly tell you about a movie that I watched. Did not bring up my list ahead of time. Let's quickly do that. Luckily, I got a new phone, and it's pretty speedy. Okay, so we talked about those movies, and, The Life, is it The Life and Time? The Time and Life of Jimmy Reardon. I think it has another name, though, but I just wrote down Jimmy Reardon because that was the more consistent part. And we watched this, actually, because it was filmed in the 80s, I think, sort of in the area where I live, in the suburbs of Chicago, the northern suburbs, and very specifically some parts that we walk by semi-often. There was some stuff, there was a very specific building that they go into, and the exterior was there, and we're like, we know that building. And it's River Phoenix, and my wife has always been a huge fan, had a huge crush on River Phoenix for all those years. But I have to say that I didn't love it because he's just, I don't know. I just didn't, I think a lot of people have the same feeling. I didn't love the character. It's just not, I don't think it's considered a very good movie. It's just all about him sleeping around and being kind of callous about it, and it's like he expects it, but he's like, nah, he's not treating people very well, and I don't know, it just felt very, just made me feel kind of gross, to be honest. But, if you like River Phoenix, then you might enjoy it just to watch him. He's a fantastic actor. There's no question about that. All right, enough of this nonsense. This is the end of the episode. Thank you much for checking it out, and until next time, this is Alan dispensing information. Goodbye.